The arena floated in the black sea of space, its size so great that entire fleets could have circled it without touching the edges. It was carved from silver stone that shimmered under the light of 3 suns, and its walls echoed with the voices of thousands of alien races that had gathered to witness the great games. Every 100 years, the galaxy demanded these contests, where the strongest species sent their champions to prove who ruled in strength, speed, mind, and war. It was a stage of honor, and it was also a place of humiliation for those who failed. When the human delegation arrived, the laughter began. They were new to the stars, still called children by the elder races. Humans were short compared to the towering war beasts of the Drax, thin compared to the armored scales of the Kelroth, and fragile compared to the heavy hides of the Goroth. Their faces showed too much emotion, their eyes too soft, their bodies too plain. The crowd filled with clicking, hissing, roaring laughter that rolled like thunder through the arena. To the galaxy, Earth was nothing but a planet of dreamers, poets, and reckless explorers who did not understand the weight of true power. When the names of each world were called, champions stepped forward to loud cheers. A Goroth champion stomped the ground, his 4 tusks shining with steel rings. The Kelroth spread their wings wide, glittering with crystal dust. The Draxi raised weapons carved from star iron, chanting their war songs. But when the name Earth was spoken, the sound that rose was not cheers, but more laughter. The humans had no giant, no monster, no creature that looked ready for such trials. From the ranks of the small human team stepped a single man. He was neither the tallest nor the strongest, and even among humans his figure looked plain. His black hair was tied back, his brown eyes calm, and his expression unreadable. His name was Captain Elias Reyes, and he carried no weapon, no tool, only the weight of the galaxy's eyes upon him. For a moment, the arena fell into mocking silence. Then a low voice muttered from the Goroth side, "Is this a joke? This small thing is their champion." The laughter erupted again. Reyes stood still as the storm of scorn washed over him. He did not bow, nor show anger. Instead, he let a small, quiet smile curve across his face. It was not a smile of pride or arrogance, but one that made those who noticed it feel suddenly uncomfortable, as if the human knew something no one else did. His eyes moved slowly across the alien leaders seated on their high thrones above the crowd. For a brief second, their laughter died in their throats. There was no fear in him, and no shame. It was the look of a man who had already seen the end of the game before it had even begun. That look planted an unease that many tried to shake off, but could not. The horn of the first contest was sounded. The stone floor of the arena split open, and rising from beneath came a giant block of obsidian, larger than a mountain house, glittering under the suns. The voice of the arena master boomed across the walls, the trial of strength. Move the stone to the end line. No tools, no machines. Only the power of the champions. The crowd roared its approval. This was the challenge where true strength was revealed. The alien giants grinned, their muscles bulging with excitement. They had trained for this since birth. Humans, however, could never move such a thing with their thin arms. All bets were made instantly, and every credit, every coin, every jewel was placed against Earth. The bookmakers laughed as they shouted odds so low it was insulting. No one believed humans would last even a moment. The whistle sounded, and the champions leaped forward. The Goroth slammed their tusks into the rock, roaring as they pushed with all their might. The Draxi dug their clawed feet into the ground, muscles rippling as they heaved the block. The Kelroth used their wings to brace and drive forward, screeching in effort. The mountain of stone began to shift slowly under the pressure of these titans. But when the eyes turned to the humans, the crowd burst into fresh laughter. They were not pushing. They were not even touching the block. Captain Reyes had leaned in close to his team and whispered something only they could hear. Whatever he said made their faces change. The humans did not attack the stone with brute force. Instead, they spread out in small groups, running to the sides of the block. Some dug into the sand at its base. Others pulled ropes from their belts. They set levers under the stone, long iron rods brought not as weapons but as tools. The aliens jeered. Cheating, someone shouted. Not strength, only tricks. But the rules had been clear, no machines. And what the humans used were not machines, only simple tools and clever placement. At first, nothing seemed to happen. Then the stone shifted, not from brute force, but from precision. A lever snapped into place, weight transferred, ropes tightened, and the humans pulled together as one. The block moved forward with shocking speed. The crowd fell silent, their mocking laughter cut short. The Titans strained, their muscles tearing against the impossible weight, but the humans guided the stone like dancers guiding a partner across the floor. They were not stronger. They were not faster. But they thought differently. Each move was planned, each action part of a design only they seemed to understand. The block reached the end line with a thunderous crash, and for a long moment the arena was silent. The Goroth panted in disbelief. The Draxi hissed in frustration. The Kelroth stared with wide eyes. The humans stood quietly, sweat dripping down their faces, their breathing heavy but steady. Captain Reyes did not raise his fists in victory. He only looked up at the council and let that same calm smile return. It was not a boast. It was a promise. The galaxy felt a shiver pass through the air, though no wind blew. The first game was done, and the humans had not failed. They had done what no one expected. And for the first time, silence, not laughter, filled the arena. The arena was alive with noise, glowing lights moving across the sky as the first contest began. Alien voices roared with laughter and heavy bets. Everyone believed the humans would lose in minutes. The challenge was a survival test inside a shifting maze made of living metal, designed to trap, confuse, and crush whoever entered. Champions from giant insect races, armored reptilians, and tall crystal beings lined up with their weapons. Captain Reyes stood at the gate with 4 humans behind him, ordinary in size, no special weapons, no strange powers. The crowd shouted insults, calling them fragile and weak. But Reyes only lifted his hand and gave a calm signal. His team entered the maze without fear. Inside, walls moved like breathing monsters, closing fast, opening sharp, trying to crush bones. The insect warriors spread out, crawling on walls with claws. The reptilians broke through obstacles with brute force. The crystal beings used their glowing shards to cut paths. Everyone moved like predators. But the humans, they did something strange. Instead of fighting the maze alone, they stayed close together, moving as one body. When a wall closed in, Reyes pointed, and another human used quick thinking to push a loose panel, making the wall jam. When a trap dropped spikes, 2 of them threw metal scraps from the floor to block the fall. Every alien expected panic, but the humans were calm, like they had planned this chaos before. The watchers outside grew confused. No one had ever worked together inside the maze. Each race always sent their strongest champions to fight alone. But these humans seemed to understand the maze faster than it could shift. When a reptilian got stuck between moving walls, one human distracted the maze's sensors by throwing sparks into another section. The walls moved away, leaving a safe gap. Even the reptilian warrior looked shocked as he escaped death, saved by an enemy. The crowd became restless. Whispers spread, "Why are they helping others? That is not the way of the games." But Reyes had no interest in following alien traditions. He looked for patterns, listening to the deep rumble of the maze, reading its rhythm like music. "Step now," he whispered, and his team obeyed without question. The floor collapsed behind them, but no one fell. It was as if he knew before the maze acted. Meanwhile, other races fought each other, pushing, breaking, trying to be first. Their selfishness slowed them down. The insect champions crawled fast but became trapped when the maze sealed their tunnels. The crystals cut new paths but fell into hidden pits. Only the humans moved with purpose, using every sound, every flicker of light to predict what came next. Slowly, they began to take the lead. Outside, alien leaders leaned forward. This was not power, not strength, not raw speed. This was something different. Something dangerous. The insect general slammed his claws in anger. They cheat. They cannot win with such tricks. The reptilian commander growled, "This is not honor. They are not warriors, they are cowards hiding together." But deep down, fear grew in their eyes. Because even if humans were small, they were making the impossible look easy. Then came the final trap of the maze. The path split into 3 glowing tunnels, each one changing shape every few seconds. Only one led to the exit. The other 2 would close forever. The aliens rushed into different paths, trusting their luck, their strength, their speed. But Reyes stopped his team. He closed his eyes, listening. The hum of the maze told a story. He smiled. Left, he said simply. Without hesitation, his team followed. The crowd gasped. The left tunnel shook, nearly closing, but at the last moment, it opened wide, leading directly to the shining gate. The humans walked out together, alive, calm, and victorious. The arena fell silent. Dozens of alien warriors were still trapped, some crying for help, others gone forever. And yet these fragile humans had walked out first, without losing a single life. The silence broke with a wave of anger. Some aliens shouted for disqualification, others demanded punishment. But there were also voices, whispers, softer but growing, that admitted the truth. The humans had not cheated. They had simply seen the game differently. Where others saw a test of strength, they saw a puzzle. Where others fought alone, they worked as one. And that changed everything. Captain Reyes looked up at the alien leaders. His calm smile had not faded. "You think we are weak," he said softly, his voice carried by the arena speakers. "But you forget, we don't play by your rules." The crowd erupted, half in rage, half in awe. The galaxy had just seen its first shock. And it was only the beginning. The Maze victory spread across the galaxy within hours. Screens replayed the moment the humans walked out alive while powerful alien champions were trapped inside. On distant planets, alien citizens argued in shock. Some laughed and called it luck. Others whispered that something far more dangerous was happening. For the first time in centuries, the arena games had been shaken. And it was by a race everyone had mocked as weak. The second contest was announced quickly. This time, it would not be puzzles or survival. It would be pure combat. The arena floor shifted, turning into a vast circle of stone and sand. Energy barriers rose around it, glowing red, sealing the fighters inside. The rules were simple: no teams, no tricks. Every champion had to face one opponent until one could not stand. The galaxy leaned forward, eager to see humans crushed once and for all. Captain Reyes stood calmly as his team looked at him. "They expect fear," he said. "So don't give it to them. Remember, strength is not only muscle." His words were quiet, but each human carried them like armor. The first match came fast. A human fighter, Sergeant Hale, stepped forward. His opponent was a reptilian warrior twice his size, covered in scales like armor, holding a spear that hissed with plasma heat. The crowd cheered wildly, already sure of the result. The signal rang. The reptilian charged with a roar, spear aimed at Hale's chest. Most expected Hale to dodge and fail. Instead, he did something shocking. He ran straight toward the attack. At the last second, he dropped low, sliding under the reptilian's legs. The spear struck the sand, sending fire upward, but Hale had already rolled behind him. Without wasting time, he grabbed sand in his fists and threw it into the warrior's eyes. The arena gasped. No one had ever seen such a move. To them, it was dirty, dishonorable. To humans, it was survival. The reptilian stumbled, blind and furious, swinging wildly. Hale climbed onto his back, using his small knife, not to kill, but to cut the straps holding the warrior's armor. With one hard pull, the heavy plates fell, leaving the reptilian exposed. The crowd was stunned. In less than a minute, the mighty champion was beaten to the ground, not by brute force, but by tricks no one expected. Anger exploded across the stands. "They break the code," shouted the insect general. "This is not combat, this is filth." But others stayed silent, their eyes fixed on the human who had just bowed calmly before leaving the arena. The next human fighter was Private Lin, small and quiet, facing a crystal being made of sharp, glowing edges. Its body pulsed with light, each strike capable of cutting steel. Lin carried no heavy weapon, only a simple staff. The match began. The crystal warrior slashed forward, sparks flying. Lin blocked once, twice, but she did not fight back. Instead, she circled slowly, making the crystal waste energy. The crowd grew restless. "Why does she not strike?" they shouted. But then they saw it. With every clash, small pieces of crystal fell to the ground. The being was powerful, but fragile when pushed again and again in the same spot. Lin's staff kept hitting one joint in its leg, soft at first, then harder, over and over. Finally, a loud crack echoed. The leg shattered. The glowing warrior fell, broken, unable to stand. The arena fell silent once again. The humans were not just fighting. They were studying their enemies, finding weaknesses no one else cared to look for. And they were winning. One by one, more matches came. Each time, the aliens charged with pride and strength. Each time, the humans responded with patience, deception, or strange tactics. Some pretended to fall, only to rise at the last second. Others turned the arena itself into a weapon, using walls, sand, or even the aliens' own size against them. By the end of the round, every human had survived. No alien had expected it. The crowd was torn between fury and awe. To them, the humans were breaking the sacred ways of combat. But deep inside, some aliens wondered if maybe this was not Dishonor at all, maybe it was something even greater. Captain Reyes finally stepped forward for the last match of the day. His opponent was no ordinary warrior. It was the Insect General's personal champion, a massive beast with 4 arms, each holding a blade, its exoskeleton glowing with deadly chemicals. The crowd screamed in excitement. This was the moment they had waited for. Surely, the human leader would fall. The fight began with a storm of blades. Reyes dodged narrowly, his calm smile never fading. He did not strike back at first. He studied, watching, learning. The insect champion laughed in rage, raining blows faster and faster. But Reyes waited until the moment came. Then, with one sudden move, he stepped aside, letting the champion's blades crash into each other. The sound of cracking armor filled the arena. The insect froze, stunned. Reyes struck once at the weak joint he had seen, and the giant collapsed, defeated in front of everyone. Silence swept across the galaxy once again. And then a single truth spread like fire: humans did not fight fair. They never would. And that made them unstoppable. The combat round ended, but the echo of it spread far beyond the arena. Across the galaxy, alien citizens filled taverns, markets, and screens with arguments. Some said humans were cheats with no honor. Others whispered that perhaps honor itself was a lie, and survival was the only truth. For the first time in centuries, the games did not follow the script that alien rulers had carefully built. And deep inside the grand halls of power, fear was born. The Council of 12, a secret gathering of the most powerful alien leaders, met in a chamber hidden under the arena itself. The chamber was carved from black stone, walls glowing faintly with ancient runes, guarded by machines that could erase sound. Around the table sat giants, insects, reptilians, crystals, and shadows, each leader representing a species that had ruled for thousands of years. They had one thing in common: none of them trusted humanity anymore. The insect general struck the table with one claw. This cannot continue. Humans are breaking the old ways. They twist battles into tricks. If this is allowed, the arena will become chaos. Our people will question us. The crystal sovereign, whose body shimmered like a prism, spoke slowly. And yet, they win. They do not have size. They do not have speed. But they see what others do not. They fight like no species we have faced before. If they are not stopped, they will rise. A reptilian warlord hissed. Then we crush them before they grow teeth. This is how we keep order. Humanity must be shown their place. But another voice cut in, colder, sharper. It belonged to the Shade Empress, a being of shifting black smoke. You are fools if you think this is only about the games. Look closer. Every human move is not just about victory, it is about learning. They study us while we watch them. They gather knowledge, piece by piece. And knowledge is the sharpest weapon of all. The chamber fell silent. Even the proudest rulers understood the danger in her words. Meanwhile, above them, Captain Reyes and his team sat quietly in their small quarters. The walls were plain, the air thin, and their food barely enough. But none of them complained. Reyes stood by the narrow window, watching the arena lights glow. He spoke softly, more to himself than anyone. They don't see us as warriors. They see us as intruders. That means they will not fight fair. They will strike in shadows. Sergeant Hale frowned. Then why stay? We've already proven enough. Reyes turned, his calm smile still there. Because we're not fighting for applause. We're fighting for something they can't understand. We're fighting for Earth. Every victory tells the galaxy we exist. That we matter. That no one can erase us. The humans nodded. Tired, bruised, hungry, but unbroken. The next morning, the arena shook again with the announcement of the third contest. This one was not combat, not puzzles, but endurance. The champions would be dropped into a deadly wasteland, filled with storms of acid rain and predators bred for war. The rule was simple: survive 3 days. Food and water were hidden across the land, but scarce. Only the strong would endure. The aliens cheered. At last, they thought, humanity would be broken. They are too soft, too fragile, too dependent on tools. Against storms and monsters, they would surely die. But in the council chamber, the Shade Empress raised her smoky form. Do you not see? This is their strength. They do not rule one land. They survive all lands. Frozen poles, burning deserts, endless seas. They adapt faster than any creature I have studied. You may think this will kill them, but I fear this will make them stronger. The insect general slammed the table again. Enough. Then we change the rules. We send hunters into the wasteland, hidden assassins, to test them further. No one must know. They will not leave alive. And so, while the galaxy prepared for the grand endurance trial, secret plans twisted beneath the surface. The humans would not only face storms and beasts. They would face the deadliest trick of all, betrayal. The day arrived. The champions stood on platforms above the wasteland, staring into a sky of green clouds and lightning that never stopped. The ground below shifted with crawling beasts and rivers that boiled. At the signal, the platforms dropped, and chaos began. Humans hit the ground hard, but they rose together. Reyes gave quick orders, pointing toward the high ridges where shelter might exist. Other champions scattered alone, roaring or flying or charging. But the humans moved as one. Step by step, formation by formation, they cut through the wasteland's fury. From the shadows, hidden hunters watched, alien assassins sent by the council. Their blades were poisoned, their armor cloaked, their orders simple: eliminate humanity before they could reach the third sunrise. But as the first night fell, something strange happened. The assassins crept closer, silent as death. Yet somehow, the humans were ready. They had set traps with stones, wires, and even fire made from storm wood. When the first assassin stepped forward, a snare yanked him into the air. Another fell into a pit covered in sharpened stakes. The council watched through secret screens, their shock growing with every moment. The humans were not only surviving the wasteland. They were surviving betrayal. And Captain Reyes, sitting quietly by the fire his team had built, whispered only one sentence to the wind: "We knew you'd cheat. We counted on it." The second sunrise rose over the wasteland, casting sickly green light across the jagged rocks. Thunder shook the sky, and rivers of acid hissed as they burned through stone. But against all odds, the humans were alive. Not only alive, they were thriving. Their camp stood firm, their traps caught predators before they could strike, and their water supply, though small, was shared with strict discipline. The assassins sent by the council were less fortunate. Out of 12, 5 had already fallen to human snares. Another had fled after breaking his arm in a pit lined with sharp stakes. Only 6 remained, lurking in shadows, confused and frightened. They had been told humans were weak. They had been told humans could not fight the storms. Yet the truth before their eyes was something else. Humans were patient, cunning, and relentless. Captain Reyes walked the perimeter at dawn, eyes sharp, step steady. His uniform was torn, his hands blistered, but he still moved like a soldier. He paused near a ridge, where the wind howled like an animal, and whispered to Sergeant Hale. "They are watching us. Still here. Still hunting. Let them come." Hale nodded, gripping a crude spear they had carved from storm wood. "They don't understand us, sir." Reyes gave that small, calm smile again. "That's our weapon." Far above, in the council chamber, alien leaders watched the hidden screens. Each assassin's view was linked to their monitors, though many feeds now showed only silence, broken equipment, or bodies lying still. The insect general was furious. This is impossible. They were supposed to die before the second night. The Shade Empress's smoky form swirled across the chamber. "You underestimated them again. You sent shadows against shadows. But humans are born from shadows. Their history is filled with betrayal, with wars, with hunger. Do you not see? They thrive in struggle. The reptilian warlord snarled. If they survive 3 days, our authority is broken. Billions across the stars will see them as equals, perhaps even as heroes. That cannot be allowed. The crystal sovereign spoke, his voice slow and heavy like stone shifting. If the people turn to humans for hope, they will turn away from us. We will lose our grip. The chamber fell into silence. Then, almost too quiet to hear, one voice dared to speak. It came from the Avoni delegate, a small bird-like alien who had always been ignored among giants. Perhaps it is not weakness we see. Perhaps it is strength we have forgotten. Maybe the humans are not a threat, but a mirror. The words hung in the air like poison. None of the great rulers replied. But the thought was planted. Back in the wasteland, the assassins struck again. 3 leaped from the storm clouds at midnight, blades glowing with venom. They expected screams, panic, broken lines. Instead, they found the humans awake, ready, waiting. Sergeant Hale blocked a strike with his spear. Corporal Lin tackled another, wrestling him into the dirt. Reyes himself stood calm in the chaos, catching the 3rd assassin's arm and twisting it until the blade fell. In minutes, it was over. The assassins lay tied and beaten, their cloaks ripped away. Reyes crouched near one, his eyes steady but not cruel. Why are you here? This is not the game's rule. Who sent you? The alien spat, hissing. You will not live to speak of it. Reyes only nodded. So the council is afraid. Good. That means we're doing our job. The prisoners were left bound. The humans had no time to waste on anger. They had storms to face, predators to track, and survival to plan. But the truth was now clear. Their victories shook the galaxy so deeply that rulers would rather cheat than see them rise. By the 3rd night, word had spread through the crowds watching the games. The audience was not supposed to know about the assassins, but whispers slipped out. Some claimed they saw cloaked figures ambushed by humans. Others swore they glimpsed secret blades in the firelight. Soon the story reached taverns, ships, and cities. The crowd that once mocked Earth now whispered in awe. Did you hear? The humans were hunted, but they turned the hunters into prey. They fight with no claws, no armor, no wings, and still they win. Perhaps they are not weak at all. Perhaps they are the future. The council tried to silence these rumors, but truth spread faster than lies. For the first time in centuries, the people of many worlds doubted their rulers. They wondered if perhaps the humans showed something their leaders had lost long ago, the will to endure without fear. As the 3rd sunrise broke, thunder roared, and the storm clouds tore apart. The trial was over. The wasteland emptied its survivors onto platforms that rose into the arena. Giants staggered, broken. Beasts limped. Machines sparked. And yet the humans stood tall, shoulder to shoulder, scarred but unbroken. The crowd erupted, not laughter this time, but silence so deep it felt like the whole galaxy held its breath. Then, slowly, cheers began. Weak at first, then louder, spreading from one corner to another, until the arena thundered with voices, Earth! 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 Up in the shadows of the council chamber, the rulers looked down with grim faces. The insect general's claws clicked with rage. The reptilian warlord's tail thrashed. The crystal sovereign dimmed his glow. Only the Shade Empress moved, her voice like smoke. You see, they have done what none of us expected. They have made the galaxy believe. Reyes looked up at the roaring crowd, his calm smile unchanged. But deep inside, he knew this was only the beginning. Because victory in the arena was not the true battle. The true battle was coming next, in the halls of power, in the secret councils, in the wars that would decide the future of the stars. The cheers still echoed through the arena long after the humans were carried out of the wasteland. Across the galaxy, billions had watched them survive what no other species could endure. But while the crowd roared with respect, in the highest chamber of the council, silence ruled. The insect general's mandibles clicked in fury. This was never supposed to happen. They should have died in the first storm. Instead, they walk away as heroes. The reptilian warlord slammed his claws on the table, the sound like thunder against stone. The people chant their name. If we let this grow, they will not only survive, they will rise. The crystal sovereign's glow pulsed faintly. And if they rise, our centuries of order will collapse. Every colony will ask, why do we bow to you, if humans stand without fear? The Shade Empress floated like a dark flame in the room. She whispered, her voice curling like smoke. Then destroy them before they leave. Strike now, while the galaxy still looks to us for direction. But the Avoni delegate, small and bird-like, dared to speak again. Strike now, and the people will see the truth. They already whisper of assassins. Already they doubt us. If we move against humans openly, we prove their strength by our fear. The chamber froze. The Empress's smoky form twisted, ready to consume the Avoni whole, but she did not strike. Not yet. Far below, in the human camp, the survivors sat in silence as medics tended to wounds. Sergeant Hale leaned against a broken column, blood still dripping from his side. "Sir," he said to Captain Reyes, "we made it. But something tells me the trial isn't really over." Reyes's calm eyes scanned the arena walls. "You're right. The trial was for the crowd. What comes next is for the rulers. And rulers fear nothing more than losing control." As if to prove his words, armored guards surrounded the humans' platform. They did not cheer, they did not salute. Their weapons hummed with lethal energy. One of the guards, a tall being with scales of bronze, spoke coldly. "By order of the Galactic Council, you will be taken to the upper chamber. There, your survival will be judged." The humans exchanged glances. Corporal Lin muttered, "Judged? We already won." Reyes said nothing. He only stood, steady as stone, and gestured for his people to follow. The council chamber was a place of shadows and light, of thrones carved from stone, crystal, and bone. When the humans entered, the alien rulers looked down like gods from a mountain. The insect general hissed first. "Humans of Earth. You endured. But endurance alone does not make you worthy. We demand to know your secret. What trick allowed you to survive what has killed thousands?" Reyes stepped forward, scarred and dirty, but his voice was clear. "No trick. We survived because we refused to give up. Where others see death, we find a way. Where others fight alone, we fight together. That is our strength." The reptilian warlord's tail lashed the floor. "Empty words. We saw you spring traps, kill beasts, turn assassins into prey. These are not the acts of the weak. Tell us, what are you really hiding?" The crowd watching on hidden screens leaned in. Billions waited. Reyes looked each ruler in the eye before answering. "We hide nothing. The truth is simple. You are afraid of us. Afraid because we remind you of what you once were, hungry, desperate, unwilling to bow." Gasps rippled through the chamber. The Shade Empress's form burned like dark fire. "Careful, human. Words can cut deeper than blades." But Reyes did not stop. "You sent storms. We endured. You sent predators. We endured. You sent assassins. We endured. Every trial you set, we turned into proof. Proof not that we are stronger than you, but that you are weaker than you admit. You hide behind rules, behind rituals, behind thrones. We hide behind nothing. That is why we scare you." For a long moment, silence filled the chamber. Then the crowd beyond the walls erupted again, louder than before. The chant shook the arena. "Earth! Earth! Earth!" The council panicked. The insect general shouted for silence. The reptilian warlord demanded the feed be cut. But the truth was already out, spreading through every world, every ship, every station. The Avoni delegate rose from his small perch, his feathers trembling. "The people have chosen. Whether you like it or not, humans now stand among us. To deny them is to deny the will of the galaxy." The rulers glared at one another. None wished to yield. Yet none dared to strike, not with billions watching, not with the chant of Earth shaking the very walls. Finally, the crystal sovereign spoke, slow and heavy. "Then let it be recorded. The humans of Earth have survived the trial of endurance. By the old laws, they are recognized as equals." The declaration fell like thunder. Some rulers hissed, others growled, but none could undo it. The law was ancient, binding. Reyes and his people stood tall. For the first time, humanity was no longer prey. They were a voice in the galaxy. But even as cheers echoed across the stars, Reyes's calm smile hid a warning he kept to himself. This was not peace. This was only the opening move. Because if the rulers could not crush humanity in the arena, they would try in other ways, in politics, in wars, in shadows darker than any storm. The storm had passed. But the true battle for humanity's place among the stars was just beginning.